In this video, we're going to explore the subject of creating supports for your 3D print here inside 3DC printing. I'm going to start from scratch by starting from a new scene. I'll choose a model from the samples folder in 3DCoat. I can see it's oriented in the wrong direction, so I'm going to rotate along the x-axis. I could left mouse click and hold while I hit the space bar to get a numeric value input here, or come to my tool options panel and choose rotate X 90 degrees. And I can also scale it numerically. I could do it in a freeform fashion here, or just choose scale. There we go. Because it's extremely low poly at this point, I'm going to subdivide it before I actually apply it to a voxel layer. I'm going to continue to subdivide until it's no longer faceted. So that looks about right, and I can now hit the apply button. To hide this preview object, we're going to step out into another tool, and as I zoom in, I can hit the W key to see the wireframe, and this gives me some visual indication just how dense this model is. I can also look at the very bottom under the current object triangle count in the status bar. I can see this is close to 400,000 polygons, and that's about right for a model like this. All right, so let's hit the W key to turn wireframe off. If I want, I can smooth it further by going to the bottom of the tool panel and clicking smooth all as many times as you need till it smooths everything sufficiently. Alternatively, you can hit the space bar and select smooth all here. It just brings the tools to your cursor. Now with that done, let's right click over the model and we'll choose snap to ground. And that's going to put the bottommost part of your model touching the very bottom of this bounding box. And that's what we want. The next thing we want to do is go to an orthographic view because we're going to use a measure tool. And I'll switch to a right camera angle. Right click and drag to zoom in. And I'll go to the adjust section of the tool panel. Right here, I have access to the measure tool. And I want to use a fixed length. You can set the measurement units here. I already have 80 millimeters chosen. If I want this measurement line to be visible when I use other tools, then I would want to check show in other tools. Now I'm going to begin by clicking at the base and ending above the highest part of the model. So I'll click here. To constrain it to right angles, I'm going to hold the shift key and just click anywhere. Now I'll hit escape to drop the initial creation of this measured line. I'm going to zoom out. I can see I need to scale this object just a bit more. So let's go ahead and choose the transform tool. Maybe scale it just a bit more. So let's go back to the measure tool. I'll right click over the object and choose snap to ground. And now I no longer need this measured line to be visible, so I'll just click clear. We are ready to move on here in the same adjust section of the tool panel to the supports tool. I'll click update if you don't see anything. And you also want to check generate supports. So let's zoom out. And we can see that 3DC printing has already evaluated this object and placed supports where it thinks it's necessary. So let's look at some options here. When I click on the advanced, it opens up some additional options to us. So I'm just going to go down the list here. The support diameter is just basic diameter of the support in general. If I reduce that, you can see how these all scale inward. You could also adjust support spacing, that's self-explanatory. Support end radius, that just affects the very end here as it touches your model. And then I want to point out that as you drag the slider, you won't really see anything. This is the minimum angle value for it to place a support. Let me bump this up to 90. Nothing really will change, but once I click update, it doesn't see anything. Let me move this down to 60, and I'll click update. It changes quite a bit. So let's go to 80. I don't see anything, but when I click update, there's quite a change. So again, sliding this really won't make any difference. You have to update it in order for the change to be made apparent. Now, if we want to add some of our own, rather than having 3DC printing do it all, we can simply touch the model where we want that support to make contact. And conversely, when we see the support highlighted red, we can click on it to remove it. I'm going to bring this critical angle back down to 45. I hit OK and then check update. Everything looks about right. Now if I come down to support shape, by default it will be set at 6. And that really is just the number of segments. So it's going to be quite crude at this number, but if you want it to be more rounded, you could add additional segments. Now the global cone angle is going to adjust the diameter basically at the bottom. And the end cone angle, so let's say we're happy with this. We are now ready to export. We have one option here for export as one mesh. Some printers may require you to export as if it's one individual object. So we'll click export. Okay. In this print example, we lost the tail due to it being so thin. And this helps illustrate that thin parts needed to be given added thickness within the application before we export. However, it otherwise printed quite nicely. This will conclude the overview of supports in 3DC printing. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time.